Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Schoner for a short, hopefully this is a short video going through some of the basics of the analysis papers assignment for your Western Civ class. I'm going to make this video pretty much universal, whether you're in History 101 or 102. So either half of the Western Civ classes, that it'll be equally applicable to the analysis paper assignments in either class, because I do this in both of my classes. And so whichever one you're taking, it should be about the same, with some minor differences here and there that we will talk about as we go through. So I'm going to screen share here and go to Canvas because essentially one of my staple assignments on Canvas that you're going to see is these analysis papers, and whether that's an online class or face-to-face class, they both kind of take on similar functions. So where you're going to find this assignment is in the modules page, and I'm just going to scroll through. This is just one instance of one class, where at the top we have in the modules section, we have our course information, our basic stuff, and then there should be shortly down from the top a analysis paper resources section. And this is where I have a bunch of goodies. This is where this video is going to live, for instance, this video recording, but it's also going to have some resources that you can draw upon when you tackle your first analysis paper assignment. And so the paper assignment should be in one of these modules. So for instance, for this class, it's at the end of module 2, but it'll say it'll say analysis paper number 1 or number 2 or whatever one it's going to be. You click on that, and that's where you'll see the directions for the assignments. I'm not going to click on this one now because I don't want to give away a particular prompt and have a bunch of people see it and use it and copy it for other classes. But you click on that, it'll give you the specific questions you'll need to answer for that paper and assignment, and that's where you'll upload the paper as well, is by clicking on that link. But what I want to do resources section, because this is what's going to help you get introduced to these types of assignments. So in the first instance, if you click on analysis paper template, what's going to come up, I've downloaded it. I'm just going to, for the sake of screen share and simplicity's sake, I'm just going to bring up my downloaded copy of it, but this will come up when you click on that link. The analysis paper template is a Word document that starts out being structured in the way that I want these papers to be structured. Whether it's analysis paper 1 or 3 or 6 or whatever it is, I want it to all kind of look the same. So at the top you have, your name, the class that you're in this case it's 101, but you might be in 102. The name of the instructor, and then what paper you have. Like those 4 elements should be at the top left corner of every analysis paper if you're writing in Word. I should note too that you don't have to write the paper in Office in Microsoft Word. If you don't have Microsoft Office, that's okay. You can use Google Docs, which is a free program on your web browser, or you could even write the paper directly into Canvas. Regardless of how you do it, whichever one of those 3 options you pick, you should start the paper with your name, which class you're in, the instructor, and which paper you're writing about. But let's just keep going down on the template here. We have the format, the basic format rules of these analysis papers should all be the same, 12-point font. If you're writing in Word or in Google Docs, it should be 12-point and Times New Roman. For Canvas, you don't really have as much control over these things, so just go with the default, and that's fine. For Word and Google Docs, I'd like them to be double spaced as well. It's not necessary. It's not super necessary if you're writing the paper in Canvas. Default margins, and then the things that I've already gone through, the top left corner with all the basics. So the essay structure should look like pretty much any other college level academic paper. We want an intro a body, and a conclusion. So the introduction I have here, and you can read this in more detail on your own time, but in just a couple of sentences, the intro lays out the topic that you're writing about. The body is going to have all the meat of the essay, the argumentation. This is where you're going to answer the questions of the prompt and provide evidence for those answers. And then the conclusion should just, in a nice, tidy, couple sentences, doesn't have to be long, just wrap up sort of what you discussed and bring it home. So the length of these papers, unless I tell you differently for a specific assignment, they're almost always going to be the same. They're going to be 2 to 3 pages. That comes to about 500 to 700 words. If you're, typing directly into Canvas, that might be your kind of go-to judgment is the word count. But if you're using double spaced Word document, we're looking to 2-3 pages. So at least 2 full pages, and bleeding into 3 if needed. Anything shorter than that, you're probably not providing enough evidence or argumentation to answer the prompt. So I would definitely try and make it 2 to 3 pages. Grading here, you can go into the rubric section of the analysis papers resources and look at the rubric, and that will explain. But basically, I'm looking at content, grammar, syntax, citations, and that kind of thing. Those are all laid out rubric. So speaking of citations, this is a big one for me. When you use one of the historical documents to prove a point, like when you state a claim, and then you use a part of the historical document as your evidence to back up what you're saying, you need to cite where you're getting that source from. If this is a class that's using, for instance, the perspectives from the past book or some other historical document book, where they're all kind of collected together, or whether I'm providing it to the documents to you on Canvas for free, it's kind of the same thing. Wherever you're getting this information from, you need to be citing it. And the citations, I'm not looking for MLA, I'm not looking for Chicago style or APA or any of those other formal types. We can just make our own citation style for the purposes of this class. So when you borrow a quote or you directly cite or paraphrase something from a document, at the end of the selected quote or section, I want you to do like a parentheses citation. So for instance, here we have, I'm drawing from the Code of Hammurabi for like an ancient history paper topic. Punishments fell especially hard on Babylonian women. For instance, Law 153 of the code says that if a man's wife kills her husband, blah, blah, blah. There's the actual quote within an example of a sentence, using the Code of Hammurabi as evidence to back up their claim. At the end of the quotation, we have a parenthetical, parentheses, citation, title of the document, Code of Hammurabi, and the page from the book that was founded. Now, if there's no page number, like if this is, for instance, like a document that I've given you on Canvas or from a website link that I've given you, don't worry about the page number, but definitely give me the title. At the very least, give me the title of the document that you're drawing from. So that way you're kind of proving that, hey, I got this piece of information from this firsthand source, and I'm proving it to you right now. So to switch gears back a little bit, back to the analysis paper resources, there's the template. You can use that as sort of your guide for structuring these papers. They're all going to look the same. There's the rubric. You can go through that if you'd like and see how your papers are graded and what points are allocated to context and to evidence and citations and all that stuff. But what I wanted to spend a couple minutes on was looking at a sample paper to kind of explain in real time, what an A+ paper looks like in these analysis paper assignments. So when you click on sample paper 1, you get this link. Again, for the simplicity of making this, I have downloaded it and I'm going to share it on screen. Here we have, I taken out the student's name, but their name would go here. This was for a History 102 class, talking about the French Revolution and the immediate aftermath of it. So this is paper number 3 for them. But they've got an introduction right here, talking about the period following the French Revolution and all the different changes that happened in Western society. But they get to the body and they start backing up their claims here using evidence. So they start out say, arguably, one of the biggest questions facing the world at the time was, where do women fit in society? And they start talking about gender roles. They start talking about women's emancipation and feminism, women's rights, that kind of thing that came after the French Revolution. And they borrow from a document, Sarah Stickney Ellis. She wrote a book titled, The Women of England, yada, yada, yada. And then this document is very interesting as it goes against feminism and actually argues that women should be more domesticated. That's the claim that the student is making. And she is paraphrasing the argument from Ellis and including the citation here. So Ellis is the name of the author who wrote the document. You can include that, but at the very least include the title, which was, you can shorten that. And in this case, the title of the book is Women. Women of England. A shortened title is totally fine. And then the page number, so page 729. And so the student does this once, they do it again when they quote directly from that document. So here's another citation. Down in the rest of the body, they draw from other documents. And I do want you to draw from 2 or 3 historical documents when writing these papers, because that's really going to help flesh out your argument and get you the full points. So they borrow from the Communist Manifesto. They quote that up here. And so we have Marx and Engels Manifesto 726, that type of thing. Tocqueville, de Tocqueville and American Democracy, they've cited that source as well. So they've cited 3 sources, 3 documents in this paper, and they go on to talk about other things. This paper goes into about 2.5 pages, almost 3 pages. And then they have a conclusion here, wrapping it up. That's a pretty good paper. They use 3 documents. They have an intro, body, conclusion. They make very good arguments, and they back up those arguments with evidence from the documents. And that's essentially what we're looking for here with these types of assignments. So use the use the primary source documents, the historical documents that we've been reading for the last couple of weeks, and use that as your evidence base to answer the questions in this particular assignment. So that's it. That's a quick and dirty sort of look at analysis papers in general from a bird's eye view. I hope that gives you a good introduction into what these papers look like. Feel free to email me if you have any questions about your particular assignment that's coming up. Otherwise, make full use of the resources I've given you on Canvas, the template, the rubric, the sample papers, that kind of thing, to start chipping away at your short paper. All right, guys. Thanks. See you around.